Bucks all the way. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. It is great to be here with all of you on our special edition of the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. It is MLK Day today. It is 12:30 p.m. here on the East Coast, the 18th of January here in 2021. As always, joined alongside my co-host Gavin Tony. What a fun weekend of sports. Unfortunately, no Sixers games to watch due to a postponement. We'll break all that down later. Currently, the New York Knicks have kicked off today. They're currently playing in the first of the MLK Day games today, who also beat Boston yesterday, so maybe Gavin's a little happy with that. But all jokes aside, a lot of football going on this week. Of course, the upset of the week last night, Buccaneers defeating the New Orleans Saints. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But Gavin, first of all, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Zach. Listen, today is a special day, but I'm going to get to that in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who may or may not know, we had a birthday over the weekend. All right? And now we didn't get to celebrate the birthday because his birthday was on the weekend. Zach, we don't work weekends. But, Zach, happy birthday to you. And I text you early in the morning, 4 in the morning, to wish you happy birthday. But, Zach, I didn't give you a wish happy birthday on the show. We ended up getting into an argument about Kevin Durant, but that's not today. But, Zach, happy belated birthday. I'm doing great. How was the birthday weekend?
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Went out to a good dinner the other night. Just great to be able to get out, get some food. Whole family was home for the weekend now. It's just my brother went to college, so obviously the back to normalcy, I guess we'd say. But given what it is, a good weekend for me for sure.
That's fantastic, man. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you go golfing this weekend?
I did go golfing on Saturday.
Did you win or did you lose?
We had 3 guys out there, and I won. I beat one of them and lost to the other. He had an insane round, so obviously not much I could do there. But I know we have to get out and get a nice day for mini golf because we have Game 3, the tiebreaker, so we'll have to figure out a good time to do that.
We're going to have to figure out. It's like we got all but time. It doesn't seem like school is going to be open up for for everybody. I'm not going back for a little bit, so time is here, Zach. Time is here.
No doubt, man. I do know you do want to get an opening statement out. We are going to open up today's show, of course, remembering the great life of Dr. Martin Luther King, expressing on a lot of the great things that he did and the sacrifices that he took to advance for our society. While it was a long time ago, relatively speaking, we still have a lot of the issues that he stood for today and a lot of history to really be told. And I think that's the most important thing. Of course, you want to be able to learn history, understand it. Gavin, take it away.
Well, Zach, first of all, I just want to say, not all superheroes wear capes, wear costumes. Not all goats, Zach, have to wear jerseys. Some are just ordinary people that have a big dream. Zach, without this man right here, this wouldn't happen. All right, Zach, me going to the same school, as a whole bunch of other people, without him and his dream and his vision of the bigger picture, we wouldn't be here today without him, and not just him, many others too. All right, Zach, he literally dedicated his whole life for the bigger picture, for a bigger picture in which us, the future, can have a chance to live a better, more equal life with everybody than just one side and another side. Now, yes, Zach, the past couple months it may feel like the one side and the other side, but I will say this: if there was a time for everything that went down in the summertime with my Aubrey and Miss LaFleur, and the reason why I bring those two in particular, because I know there was many more, but these two is because this sparked a conversation that's been going on amongst African American people in the United States about what's been going on. But the reason why I bring those two up is because we were in the middle of a pandemic, no sports, no anything really. You couldn't run away from the truth. You couldn't run away from what's been really going on here. Now, the 60s was a long time ago, Zach. All right, maybe not that long time ago, ladies and gentlemen. I tried to look up how long ago, but the math wasn't working for me today. So, I had to get that and bring that to you the next day. But if we saw what was going on, we had one was killed by going on a jog. It's like a simple routine, which everybody does, going on a jog. and then we had one being kneed on for over 8 minutes. And what did that do? That sparked outrage. That sparked a talk amongst everybody in the United States and arguably around the world. It's like there was no sport. You had to see it. You had to see it. You had to watch it. And not everybody wanted to watch. I know me personally, I couldn't sit there and watch the whole 8 minutes and 46 seconds. To this day, I still can't do it. Because it was one of those things where, was I surprised by it? Not really. Did it hurt me? Oh, Zach, it hurt. It hurt like hell. I remember you were the first person that called me after everything, and I respect that because nobody knew what was going on. Everybody had a lot of assumptions. Emotions were running high, and the beautiful thing that came out of that was the protest, the march, the peacefulness. Now, Zach, not everything was peaceful. We know, we've seen it, but that's when people were upset. Martin Luther King said that a riot is a language of not being heard. Zach, not a lot of people were heard back in the day, or a couple months ago. And the reason why I bring this up now is because we were marching for police brutality and racial inequality that's still going on to this day. Martin Luther King was marching for a lot inequality. He marched for equality. Zach, the march from Selma. Let's talk about how many times this man was thrown into jail. Others were beaten, and some were killed. Just to have the bigger picture, just for Zach, like I said, for a talk show, a talk show where a black male and a Jewish American male can have and talk sports every day, whether it's an hour, whether it's 30 minutes. Zach, we look, the time is different every day, but we're here. All right, but
we make it work. We make it work.
We can go to the same school. Zach, we can go out to eat, which we are pretty due again to do that again, but
we're overdue.
What I'm trying to say is that for a person to dedicate his whole life for a bigger picture, and not only did he succeeded in that goal, the sad thing is that he didn't get to see his dream, or he didn't get to outlive his dream that he wanted. He didn't get to see the end result, and that's why, going back to modern day, seeing the protest, seeing Zach, and I brought this to you in June. I said, seeing the protests being more white dominant means they're fed up with what was going on too. Now, if you go back to it was 2 Wednesdays ago, right, Zach? It was 2 Wednesdays ago, or was it 1 Wednesday ago?
For what? The
Capitol.
The Capitol was 2 Wednesdays ago.
2 Wednesdays ago. If you go back to 2 Wednesdays ago, Zach, that was a disgusting sight for all scenes. Let's throw politics out of it. That was just disgusting. If you were a person or just a regular human being, that was disgusting. Everybody, Zach, I know me, we were disgusted by it, and we threw politics out of it. All right. That is what the setting is. Those people were not great people. Zach, there's great people all over the place. You gotta find them. It may not seem like that, but there is. And this concept, humanity has come so far and still has a long way to go. That's true. That's true, Zach. And before I hand it off to you, I want to say this. Dr. King opened up a lot of doors. Zach, we always argue about LeBron James, Michael Jordan. All right. I know we talk about baseball, Jackie Robinson and Babe Ruth. Then you got in football, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Deion Sanders, Sean Taylor. All right, and in the rapping industry, you had you got guys like Tupac, you got guys like Biggie, then you had Eminem. The reason why I bring this up is because we couldn't have those dreams without him. It took one person it's like I'll say back probably in the 60s, his dream was wild. Everybody was looking like, "Oh, you serious?" And once it went through, and they kept pushing, determination of this man is crazy. It was crazy, and I applaud it. No one will be ever more determined and hardworking than him. And Zach, last but not least, I'm gonna say this: the doors he opened up, and Zach, we're about to have our first female vice president that is black. Our first African American president was Barack Obama, who was black. Were these things happening if MLK didn't do what he did? I don't believe so. I don't think we would. It's like if he didn't do what he did, I still believe that this right here would not be happening. Me going to a school that is predominantly white, but I don't think that would be happening either. Zach, we wouldn't be going out to eat. Not saying that because that would have been illegal. We couldn't do that. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, not all heroes wear capes and masks and costumes. Even though you should wear your mask right now, it's like, come on now. But I'm saying, it takes an ordinary person with a wild dream, and for him to execute his dream. And I'm not just saying just him. It's like we can got many, many, many of people. I can sit here and go on and on and on, but I want to let you have a chance to go.
It's all about history. That's the most important thing. All of us today, for the most part, specifically the younger generation, is we only know what we're taught. And I do think our school system did a pretty fair job. It can be improved because they definitely closed a lot of holes about the issues today. But as far as this history itself, I do think that the school system in our area, at least, has done a pretty good job allowing us to learn more about Dr. King's legacy. It is taken for granted. Like our show, what we're doing right now, is taken for granted today. It wasn't 60 years ago. This was considered crazy back then. As you said, Dr. Martin Luther King's dream was viewed as crazy. It's a long history of this country, and the idea that you are either like fully with us or fully against us, in my opinion, is, while there's truth to it, is a little bit toxic because it creates this sense of attack that if you don't align with us on all of these beliefs, whether politically or equal rights or whatever, then you can't be with us at all. And that's the biggest thing that I've noticed. And it's so important that we all stand together. This country, right? The 13 stripes, the 50 stars has an ugly, ugly history. The Confederate flag, a thing that I never want to ever mention or even see on this show or see anywhere, it's a part of this country.
All places too, Zach. In all places. Go on.
Exactly. This country has had a history that is very complex. And for us, Gavin, like for Jews that were immigrating, of course, a lot of African Americans who came here as slaves. It's hard to sit back and look at George Washington and those legacies and what they accomplished for freedom as far as voting and things like that. There's an ugly history about this country. But the same way as I get back to it's not all or nothing, it's possible to acknowledge the history of this country and still love it because it allows these things to happen. Dr. Martin Luther King, it was not easy for him. He had to fight against the government. He had to do all the work that he did. And even after his passing, the Civil Rights Acts and all of these new laws passed through. As this comment says, it's possible to believe that humanity has come so far, but we still have a long way to go. And that's my big thing. It's about being able to understand where people come from, acknowledge the flaws, and have confidence and faith that everything will be all right. Whether or not you agree politically with Raphael Warnock, the Reverend who had just won the runoff race in Georgia, the first black senator elected in a deep South state. This country is changing. For the
state that just turned blue too.
We had the largest voter turnout in American history. Whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat, both parties are changing, believe it or not. There are the extremes, which are disgusting and should be condemned at all cost and ruin it for the majority. But a lot of people in this country, I'd argue in the 90% area, all are progressive in their views when it comes to equal rights and comes to certain things like that. We have to bond together and make sure that despite what we see on the news and despite what that 5 to 10% of extremes do, that we band together and continue to make progress. Because at the end of the day, that's how it's done, frankly.
The healing process is not going to be easy. Zach, and the history of this country, it's good and bad. It's good and bad. You're right. All right. And even in 1955, a young boy, Emmett Till, Zach, have you ever heard the Emmett Till story? Goes to visit his family in Missouri. He's a Chicago native. And his mom told him, if you see a white woman in the South or any white, don't look them in the eye. Well, long story short, he ended up whistling at a young white woman at the time. And that next night, a group of white men related, I would say related to the young lady, ransacked their house, snatched the boy, and arguably beat him so bad that like his face wasn't even memorable. And his mom had an open casket. Everybody needed to see what they did to her son. And everybody was discussing it. This has to, something has to change. Zach, and then, and this is my thinking, it's like a car, all right? Rosa Parks didn't want to, give up her seat. She was tired. All right. I view them. Some people may say that started the civil rights movement, which it did. If you want to put it in car terms, Zach, what happened in 1955, in my eyes, was viewed as the premium gas. That's the one that gets sparked everything. And then Rosa Parks was the actual movement. Now, I could be wrong. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's just how I view it. But Zach, if you ever get a chance, look up the Emmett Till story. If you have or have not known, it's a sad story. Actually, later, Zach, it comes to find out that it was he didn't whistle. It was like the wind. Zach, wind whistles, and she thought, and it's a sad story. Young, like 14 years old. But all in all, Zach, this country has a history of good and bad. We've seen the good, Zach. We've seen it. Whether it was in sports, Jordan with 6 rings. Jackie Robinson being the first black player to play in a Major League Baseball. Whether it's Barack Obama winning presidency, whether it was Kamala Harris being the vice president. There's good and there's a lot of good times, and you gotta remember the bad times as well. We saw a bad time on Wednesday. Never want to see that again. Never want to see a Confederate flag in a place where it has no business being anywhere near. We got a long way to go, but it starts today. Zach, I believe the healing process started in June. It started in June. The healing process started in June. Then things happened. People got up and voted. We know the change and then the healing process really will start on Wednesday. And then we just gotta go forward together as one. Zach, we always say unite through sports. We gotta unite through us people as well. Not everybody likes sports, Zach. We know that, but we gotta unite somehow, some way. And whether it's going out to eat with peers and just having talks, and just got to do it. Just got to get it done no matter what. Look, Zach, and we're going to get into sports right this, but I will say this. We're on a way. The future looks bright. It's going to take a minute because a lot of people have the old way of thinking. But it's going to take a minute. We're going to get there someday. It's not going to be a snap of a finger where things change. You got to work towards these things. Got to work towards it.
Couldn't agree more. And look, as I mentioned before, it's all about action. Hold them accountable. How much can you really rely on politicians? How much can you really rely on certain people to be able to do their job? And that's what I want to do. I want to hold people accountable, make sure that we're getting bills passed that are progressive, and making sure they're doing their part, making it easier to acquire funding, whether you're a founder of a company who is African American and you may not have access to some of the conventional funds. Look, like Malcolm Jenkins is doing a very good venture capital fund right now for a lot of young Black businesses. It's as much as I'd love to be able to sit here, Gavin, and say that we all would love to work together, it's great seeing, and I'm sure you have a similar opinion, it's great seeing other Black Americans helping each other and raising each other up. And that's when you are able to respect yourself, you earn the respect of others. That's been an expression that I've always seen. That's always something I believe in myself. And I think that's something that is so progressive, something that's going to be great moving forward in this country. And like you said, the healing process has begun. It's painful, but it's going to pay off in the long run.
The long run, Zach, the future is what we are always looking for. We look ahead, all right? Let's close this ugly book of 2020 and in the past. Let's look forward to a new beginning. Zach, we started our show in 2020, all right? We're in 2021. We're looking forward to the future. We hope we can go to the top with this, and I believe we will. But in order to heal, you have to believe, and you have to start changing opinions and start working together. So
have the open dialogue and make sure people know it's not all or nothing. With that being said, we hope you all enjoyed that segment. We love having an opportunity to sit here and just have an open dialogue for those celebrating MLK Day. We all wish you to remember what Dr. Martin Luther King and many of the other people that had fought for equality in this country have went through. If you have time or any opportunity to donate, be nice, have open dialogues. Today's a great opportunity. And of course, every day is a great opportunity to continue those conversations. With that, coming up after this, an interesting upset yesterday, a near upset earlier in the day, and then 2 games not so shocking the day before. We'll break it all down after this. We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewer's choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode. Welcome back here on the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. We'll get started with it right away. A lot going on in the NFL. Conference Championship weekend is set. Of course, we're getting predictions and more on Friday for those games on Sunday. But Gavin, let's get started with the first game yesterday. Green Bay Packers, Los Angeles Rams. The Rams just can't keep up with the Packers. It's that simple. Packers hosting the NFC Championship in Lambeau Field next week. Again, that is the Green Bay Packers defeating the Los Angeles Rams.
Was like my first actual reaction to it was Devontae Adams put Jalen Ramsey on notice. He actually scored a touchdown. The matchup was I'm not letting Devontae Adams get anything, and he got something. And Aaron Rodgers looked phenomenal on Saturday, and you had Aaron Jones in the run game too. Zach, we always like to point out how great they're not against the run, but Zach, let's talk about their offense. Look, defense wins championships in all sports, right, Zach? We know that. But sometimes an overpowered offense can hide, some of the defensive problems. Zach, the run game, you like pointing out. We knew Kansas City's defense last year wasn't that dominant, but when you have a firepower of offense, you can get anything done. Aaron Rodgers looked phenomenal, man. He's on another level, especially at his age. That's just wild to think. But in the offseason, the key to get to the Super Bowl is because they got to the NFC Championship again last year. All right, but the key is to win it. You have to win it. It's like Aaron Rodgers only has one Super Bowl appearance, and he won that Super Bowl appearance, and he's come up short every time after that. Whether it's the Seahawks, and then you had the Falcons when the Falcons went. Now a lot of people remember that Wednesday. Then you have last year
San Fran.
And San Fran. Now this year you have Tom Brady and the Bucs. You have to get there. And then we can start opening the conversation about who really is the greatest quarterback right now of all time.
I mean, you lose 38-10 last time around in Tampa Bay. Look, San Fran crushed them last year in the regular season, and they crushed them in the NFC Championship game. Again, that run game is going to be the Achilles heel. I pointed out before the season, I can't count out Aaron Rodgers right now, but the other side of the ball is probably the greatest quarterback of all time. But before we get to that game, of course, we'll hit the night game, the Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens. I'm not surprised about it. Gavin, I know you might be. If I'm a Ravens fan, am I worried about Lamar's play style? I don't know at this point. He won an MVP. He has played phenomenal. He can throw the ball well. The O-line was banged up. And, I mean, you just ran into a really good Buffalo Bills team.
Well, it's like that Buffalo Bills defense is nothing special, and I'm not taking away any credit from their win, but let's just call it the elephant in the room. They did their job, right? They were able to take away all of Lamar's escape running lanes in the pass game. But seriously, here we go. Let's call it out the elephant. They don't have a wide receiver. When it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, they don't have a wide receiver. Zach, we always go by this. Look at all the quarterbacks that had a new wide receiver this year. Kyler Murray, even though they missed playoffs. You had Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. Josh Allen's on another level. It's like you need to go out and get Lamar Jackson wide receiver. And you got to reinvent the pass game. It's like I've seen a lot of run, then pass. Run, pass. Everybody knows the run is coming. You can stack the box. It doesn't matter. That was the first interception. It was an ugly one. First pick six in Lamar Jackson's career in the red zone. All right? He's been efficient in the red zone. Zach, you have to get him a number one wide receiver. You got to go and get yourself Kenny Galladay. You got to go get yourself Allen Robinson. You got to go look in Chris Godwin. You got to go spend a draft pick on a wide receiver. You got to do something. At the rate, I don't want Lamar Jackson to fall into the Michael Vick category. Great player, but relies on athleticism. Can't read a defense. If he reads a defense, Zach, and has a wide receiver, that's dangerous. That was the same problem with Cam Newton. He couldn't read a defense, but he had at least a decent wide receiver in Devin Funchess. He had an end of the career Steve Smith on his team. So it's like it's possible. But as of right now, I don't see them going any further without a wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I think that if I'm Baltimore, I'm not giving him a contract yet. It's nothing personal against him, but you got to see what happens. You got to give him a real wide receiver. One, he's got to develop more into a passer. He's been criticized in the past, and every year he's answered better. So maybe this will be the opportunity to get his first playoff win. But let's go to yesterday's games. We'll go with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield played really well yesterday. For those who may or may not notice, he had one bad interception. He had what should have been a touchdown, ended up being a fumble through the back of the end zone. I'm not really opposed to that rule at all. I feel like if you're able to get the ball out and it's able to go through, it should be a touchback. I actually am in favor of that rule. But it was a helmet to helmet, and that should have been a flag. But all things considered, the favorite in the NFL, Kansas City Chiefs, unknown if they will be with or without Patrick Mahomes next week. And if they are, it will be unlimited practice time. I don't see them beating Buffalo without Mahomes, but Gavin, what are some of your thoughts from that game in the early window yesterday?
Well, if Mahomes plays the potential to be a shootout, which is we all would love to see that, because why not? AFC Championship shootout. All right. But Zach, let's go back to the Mahomes hit. You grab Mahomes by the neck, and not only that, his face hit the ground, but I'm all for contact. All right, Zach, let's not. I'm not soft. All right, when people get hit, I'm like, ooh, that hurt. But that's the game. You signed up for it. But to grab someone's neck on the ground and to pull it down, I'm not all for that. You're risking potential really bad injury. Zach, Mahomes couldn't even stand up yesterday. Now, luckily, as Mahomes tweeted, anything is possible, and he, goes and gets the 4th and 1, and then tosses the Tyreek Hill to end the game. But Zach, it's plays like that which you don't like to see, especially as someone that's arguably going to be the best quarterback to maybe play this game. The Chiefs left the door wide open for the Browns. You ran the ball, you did what you're supposed to do, but just came up short. And going back to the Rashard Higgins fumble, Zach, it's touchy to me. At that point, if a receiver extends his arm, his hand, I get it. I'm not all against the touchback rule. But at what point do you have to say, okay, well, what's going to be considered a fumble, what's not? Like, yes, wouldn't you consider that almost giving yourself up? Almost?
It's very touchy. It's very subjective. Ball came out, diving forward. You're not really allocated the same protection the quarterback is when they dive forward. But I mean, look, you saw it earlier this year with DK Metcalf. They punched the ball out of the back of the end zone. Of course, that should be a touchback, and the same rule applies here. Just hate to see it. Baker Mayfield silenced a lot of critics this year. I definitely think so. I get it. Run game, new coaching, but you can't say he hasn't stepped up and made the throws when he's needed to this year. Some drops yesterday. The fumble, of course. Hooper had a big drop on 4th down.
Yeah, without OBJ too.
I think they're better without OBJ, honestly. I think when they try to force the ball to him, it makes it a lot more pressure. I like where they are right now. They should probably move him, arguably, in the offseason.
And bring him in here. Take him to Baltimore. Listen, Zach, I'm all for OBJ in Philadelphia, all right? One of my favorites. But no, Zach, Baker Mayfield critic in me, I haven't been silenced. The past couple of weeks, he showed up, he showed out. I was really critical after the Jets game. I said, you couldn't show up there when they needed you, but you didn't have any wide receivers. So I remember that. Comes out versus Steelers, makes the throws when he needed to. Zach, arguably one of the best game managers in the business right now. I know Dak Prescott is down, but when Dak's down and he stepped up as arguably the best game manager, there is. You hand the ball up, you have a dynamic duo. Zach, tell me the best 1-2 punch in the league. You're not going to find one. New Orleans has a close one, all right, but that's not it. Each one of those guys can go for 100 yards. Cleveland's going to be the destination to be next year in free agency. Just watch.
I like where they're going. Kevin Stefanski, coach of the year, in my opinion. Good year for them. Good run. Unfortunately, cut short. But Gavin, of course, the final game of the night. Drew Brees, officially almost his last game of his career. Obviously, a heck of a career. He had 1 Super Bowl ring, of course, defeating the Indianapolis Colts in the 2010 Super Bowl, or maybe 2011. Packers won the previous one, of course. But Tom Brady and Drew Brees, what a way to go off. Tom Brady, Buccaneers, 3rd time's a charm, stepping up, making plays when they needed to. If I'm the Packers, I'm terrified right now. I'll be honest with you. Anyone, the Buccaneers are not stopping right now. It's going to be a great game next week. We'll get to predictions that I pointed out next Friday. But Gavin, thoughts on that final game?
Well, Zach, you talk about the last game. Tom Brady and his weapons are finally here. Zach, there's a stat that you can argue say it's a stat, and it's not. You can't beat a team 3 times in a row. That's not happening. Especially the fact that this team that you beat was bullied in week 9. They found their identity after that. Antonio Brown came along. Chris Godwin's here and got better. And Mike Evans, we all know Mike Evans, special talent. But if you are Green Bay as the Green Bay secondary, be scared. They got 3 Pro Bowl wide receivers. One, if it wasn't crazy, never would have lost except never would have ended up there. Zach, and the fact they don't have O.J. Howard either, this team is dangerous. The only thing I'm not sold on is the run game. Looked good yesterday, but I'm not sold on it 100%. I'm really not. Zach, in the battle of the old heads, Tom Brady won, and he looked better doing it. Zach, Drew Brees had 3 interceptions, and Michael Thomas didn't have a catch. Your touchdown came off Traquan Smith, and Jameis Winston threw one. Pretty good ball, actually. But all in all, Zach, if you want to talk about Drew Brees, he had a great career. I'm not as fond of Drew Brees, but yesterday didn't look like he didn't have it at all. Threw 3 bad interceptions. One was tipped. You could argue say that's not his fault, but the rest were just horrible. He had a wide open receiver going across the middle, and he airmailed it. Should have been interception. Should have been 4. Zach, should have been 4 interceptions. But he airmailed it, and the defender couldn't catch it. All in all, Zach, what I'm trying to say is, if you're Drew Brees, just hang it up. It's over. That yesterday didn't look good, and that wasn't the first time this year where it didn't look that great. Zach, Alvin Kamara bet him out a lot this year, in a lot of instances. I think it's time for him to hang it up, join the booth, and call the games like Tony Romo.
Look, I mean, again, tough end for them, but flipping the script over to Tampa Bay, you go up against Washington with that pass rush, 31 points. You go up against New Orleans, the number 1 defense in the league, 30. It's not going to be the offense is not going to be the reason the Buccaneers lose next week. It's not. It's going to be a shootout. And honestly, the Buccaneers are the higher powered offense. The weather is not going to matter because Tom Brady played in Foxborough for 20 plus years. So obviously that's not going to be a factor. Other from Tampa Bay, it's going to be cold. It's the Battle of the Bays, Green Bay, Tampa Bay. It's going to be a great game. At least I hope so. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, the first ever playoff appearance between the two of them. And just a friendly reminder to our Dallas Cowboys fans, since 1997, the Cowboys 0 NFC Championship appearances, and Tom Brady 1.
Zach, I saw that. I think I sent that to you. I don't know who I sent that to, but I saw that. And you're a Cowboys fan. Trent's not here today, but if he was here, I would love to hear his reaction to that. But Zach, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be a great matchup. It's actually going to be a great matchup on both sides of the division of the league. Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, 2 young quarterbacks, and then you got 2 old head and severely almost get to an old head. I don't know. I don't know who I'm going to pick. That's going to be later in the week, but it's going to be an exciting championship weekend. I hope everybody stays healthy through the whole thing because that could ruin it.
Yeah, I hope so. And then, of course, if the Buccaneers win for the first time in NFL history with the Super Bowl era, they'll be playing in their home stadium. I think that's kind of cool. Of course, we knew before the season when they announced it was Tampa Bay that there was a chance of this happening. Everybody was counting them out. I told you on the show, Gavin, that I think it's going to take time for the Buccaneers to blend. Then they add Antonio Brown. He's been playing very selfless, which is great because that's what they needed from him. Bruce Arians is trusting Tom a little bit more. I think that early in the year he was trying to micromanage. He's learning how to coach Tom and his intelligence. And speaking of Tom and the offensive personnel and his career, his guy who kind of helped him get through some of the Super Bowls might be coming to Philly. Reports are coming out that he is very overwhelmingly the favorite right now to be the field of Josh McDaniels, possibly. I'd say it's 90% chance that Josh McDaniels will be the next head coach of the Eagles. I'm not sure what I can really say about that, but Gavin, they won the Super Bowl with Julian Edelman and a bunch of guys who no one was really known as. Whether or not you want to give the credit to Bill Belichick, he knows how to turn, no offense, but he knows how to turn scrubs into system-built players. While he's got some issues off the field, and yes, I think that's something that should be looked at, and I'm going to be critical of. If he becomes the next head coach, there's a chance he can plug in a system for whichever quarterback is here. I don't know. I don't know why he'd be the most attractive candidate. He does have 6 rings, but he was with Bill Belichick, and in the history of Bill Belichick assistants, it's almost never worked out except for Brian Flores, but it looks like he's the favorite right now from what I'm reading some of the sources.
Y'all see my face? Hell no. No. I don't want him here. Zach, here's why. It's his fault that Frank Wright left because remember, Zach, the Indiana job was supposed to be Josh McDaniels. He ended up pulling out, and it comes to turn to find out that Jeffrey Lurie and Harry Rosen, they were going to fire Frank Wright anyway, so he said, I'm going to leave. I argue with thinking Frank right here. We could have went back to back. Zach, that's when the day the offense died. I will say this. If Josh McDaniels come here, I just won't be happy. Zach, I'm not a Josh McDaniels fan. You said turn scrubs, and if he's this great play caller, what the hell happened to Cam Newton this year then?
They had no one this year, though. But Bill Belichick is reluctant to give them talent. Listen, I'm not a big fan of him either, but this coaching position is not attractive because you have a front office that micromanages, a GM that doesn't make good draft picks, and a quarterback, which we have a lot to break down with Carson Wentz throughout the week, that has apparently become uncoachable and has a direct line to the owner at all costs. That's not attractive. Brian Daboll apparently reportedly is not interested in the Eagles head coaching job. I don't blame him. Robert Saleh going ahead and going to New York. I think it's safe to say right now, and I've been pretty accurate on my predictions. Within the next 48 hours, Josh McDaniels will be named the Eagles head coach. I don't know. Didn't work in Denver. I don't know how to feel about it. I really don't. Look, if he's your head coach, what are you going to do? You have to support the team. Screens, run the ball. He did that. It would work. My only issue is off the field, the same way with the Brooklyn Nets right now. I don't know.
What's his off the field problem? You don't mind me asking.
He's had a few different we can read up on it. I have to go into more detail with it. But, of course, the Colts job, backing out of that. With the Broncos, he had some issues there. But I'm not anti-Josh McDaniels right now. I'd rather not go that route. But it's tricky. It's just a tricky situation. And it looks like he's going to be signed here. So they run the ball, screens. I can go and watch some of New England's offense over the last decade. But I don't know. It's a tough situation.
Zach, real quick. Someone should screen record this and tweet this at Jeffrey Lurie or Howard Roseman or somebody in the Eagles. It's either the enemy or Staley. That or excuse me, and Todd Bowles. That's it. If you bring Josh McDaniels in, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I really don't know. Because, it's like, I'm not a Josh McDaniels guy. All right, we saw what happened to Matt Patricia. He sucks. He sucks. He was horrible. He was a trash can times 2. All right.
Well, I do want to say this, though, Gavin.
Yeah.
When the Lions requested to interview Matt Patricia, there was no problem with it. Even after the Colts interviewed Josh McDaniels, Bill Belichick forced him to stay around. There must be something good about him that Belichick didn't want to lose up until this point.
Dude, but Zach, why get rid of him now? If he's this to you, why give him now?
Look, you have James White, Miles Sanders, similar guys. I'd say Sanders is more talented, arguably, obviously. James White has the better resume. I'd say more potential. Look, Rex Burkhead, Julian Edelman. Tom Brady, a 6th-round pick, 199th overall. Borderline good offensive lines every year. Of course, always a great defense. But if he does come here, the play actions, things like that, there's a system that works. As long as off the field it can work. Going to bring in his own staff. Maybe he'll draft some talent for once. I don't know. But would I rather have Bieniemy here? Yeah. Would I rather have Brian Dabble here? Yeah. Would I rather have Todd Bowles here? It's debatable because, of course, my thoughts on the defensive mind of the field. Some of the Robert Saleh concerns. But would I rather have Joe Brady here, though, than Josh McDaniels? I don't think so.
I'll take McDaniels over Joe Brady.
Because he spent 1 year. He was the offensive coordinator, passing coordinator for LSU. He spent 1 year in the NFL so far. Will he be a good coach? I'm sure he will, but it's tricky. And the reason that I say it's tricky is probably because I know they're going to hire him, and I have to start getting warm to it. We'll see what happens.
What about Deuce? Trust me, I would love Deuce. Zach, I said
I'll take Deuce any day. Take Deuce right now.
Deuce takes a CEO role. He's the guy, the players coach guy. You get an offensive guy, and maybe him and Dev can bounce ideas off each other. You get Darren Sproles here as a running backs coach. All right, and then all of a sudden, boom, you got yourself a defense. You let the defense coordinator take whatever he wants on the defense side of the ball. You don't worry about it. But no, we're going to get Joe Brady or Josh McDaniels.
Look, this is what happens when you destroy your organization. This is what happens when you have your quarterback come out as uncoachable, your general manager going over scouts' heads, and an owner that fires you after one losing season. It's not an attractive job right now.
It can't be worse than Houston. I'll just say that.
All right. They got a top 5 quarterback who's going to be traded.
On his way out.
But he will be. All right. With that being said, everybody, yes, if the news does break, of course, we'll try to get live if we can. I don't anticipate it being today, but we'll figure it out. With that being said, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today on the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. Wishing you all good Martin Luther King Day. Gavin, anything else you wanted to say?
Well, Zach, today is a special day. Let's enjoy it. Let's educate. Let's start the healing process. Let's unite. Zach, MLK had a crazy dream back in the day. It was crazy. Had a group of people that believed in his dream. They marched and marched and marched. And look where we are today.
No doubt. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great day.
Have a good one, everybody. Have a good one, Zach.
You too, sir. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts of our videos.